Thank you for being here. We're going to sit for a bit of quiet together. I just want to pour this tea. You want some tea? I don't think so. Did that get you on the nose? Maybe so. Okay, please take a comfortable seat. Welcome yourself to your practice. And as I was saying, we're practicing this week the Yama of Asteya, which means non-stealing. And so one way to translate that is give yourself the fullness of the opportunity to be here on your yoga mat. But another important translation more classically is not stealing, not taking that which hasn't been given to you, not taking that which isn't yours. So in a literal sense, not stealing, but in the metaphorical sense, also as we receive these teachings and we take them in, maybe then express them with authenticity and respect for the tradition and not sort of take it, mold it, and reproduce it as a commodity. So that's a very important consideration as well. We don't have to actually reproduce because these teachings have been working for thousands of years. So let's sit for a bit of quiet together, please. You can rest your hands in your lap or your paws under your shoulders. Prepare for meditation mode. And give yourself the fullness of the opportunity to be here. Set aside that which would distract or dissipate your attention. We arrive at Asteya from ahimsa, non-harming, non-violence, and satya, truthfulness or honesty. And then we arrive in Asteya. On the foundation of ahimsa and satya, Asteya is like a natural arising. We would not want to take that which isn't ours. We would not want to take that which hasn't been given to us. It would put us out of our integrity with ourselves. It would also put us at risk in our relationships with others and our relationship with the tradition of yoga. Please raise your hands to your heart. When the palms come to heart center, you could imagine that in one hand is ahimsa, in the other hand satya, and then you're meeting at this quality called asteya. May we give ourselves the fullness of the opportunity. May we also respect the tradition in its root. May we turn to that when needed. Let's chant Pahana Vavatu. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Saviryam Karavavai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidveshavai. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Saviryam Karavavai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidveshavai. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Saviryam Karavavai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidveshavai. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha Hari Om. With your exhale, you may bow your head to your heart. And please release your hands. Open your eyes. If we give ourselves 3 translations this morning for Asteya, the first is not squandering our opportunity, so giving ourselves the fullness of the opportunity to be here. The second, not stealing from or then manipulating or commodifying the tradition or the teachings. And then the third, in the literal sense, how do we practice today, not taking that which is not ours, including other people's learning opportunities or their healing opportunities. We can shepherd or steward or hold space for, but not take away from. And also not taking that which hasn't been given to us. That's probably the highest level of the practice, not taking that which hasn't been given to us. So if we look at that translation, it's difficult to live in this culture as a yogi because we have purchases to make and we go to the market and we buy the tea and the goodies that are in the tea. In my case, it's maple syrup and cream. So we go and purchase those things. We turn the faucet on, the water comes out. It's coming into the house and we're paying for it. In a sense, it's being given to us because we've had an exchange about it. Now, if we were living as a sannyasin or an ascetic, we would have a begging bowl and we would live on a certain day with that which was given to us. We would be putting this huge confidence into the world, this big trust in the community. We would also be living in a culture that has that ritual. So you'd have your bowl, it would be sitting, and you would be practicing or seated somewhere on a pathway, maybe on a mountain, And the villagers who might come up and give alms or donation to that bowl, rice or other things, they would be practicing dana or generosity or giving, and you would be practicing living with only that which is given to you. So I want to share that part of the teaching with you, but I'm going to leave it up to your interpretation, how you'd like to apply that in your life today. Because we do live in a culture where we are urban yogis and we're a part of the commerce. And it's a big difference between that lifestyle and this lifestyle. But how could we apply it? I'm going to encourage you to consider. As I live today, how might I live with that which has been given to me, including these teachings, which are being given, through me, but through us making a community and being tapped into my teachers and the tradition also. So all of that said, please come to kneeling, come to Vajrasana, also called Zazen, when you sit like this. And I'd like you to have the space that you could bow your head and come to the top of your head in front, and also the space that you could clasp your hands behind you and open the chest into a back bend. Let me just scoot the microphone so I won't hit it. Okay, so reach back and interlace your fingers. Roll the shoulders back, squeeze your arms back. And even though you're opening the chest and shoulders, bring your chin and your head down. And start breathing into the low belly, lower pelvis, lower back, mid torso, and then up into the heart. You could think of the 3 regions of the breath and try to make them equal so you're not running out of the inhale when you get to the top. With an exhale, begin to bring your knuckles to the floor behind you, to a block, to a blanket, whatever you need. Raise your chest and your heart, open your throat. And then exhale and bow over your thighs. Release the weight of your head, touch your hairline, and then the crown of your skull. Raise your arms up towards the ceiling. We've been practicing this, so anybody who's new to class or new to this practice, this is something we've been doing for many weeks. It's called rabbit pose or a variation on rabbit pose. And exhale, bring your hips back down to your heels, roll up, and inhale into a back bend. Exhale, touch the knuckles down, open your throat. Inhale up and forward. Exhale your hairline and then the crown of your skull. And then exhale, lower your hips to your heels. And one more time, rise up, little back bend. And exhale, open your throat, lean your knuckles to the floor, the block, or the blanket. And then release your hands to your lap. So that's, again, we call it Zazen. You can do palms face down and close your eyes. Sometimes when we sort of clear the antenna of the mind, the teachings come in more easily. The transmission is there. So now we're going to work with thread the needle pose. So let's take us, move to table pose, please. And I'll move this microphone, so hopefully you'll be able to keep hearing me clearly. So when you come to table pose, let's bring the left hand under and through. That's called thread the needle. Bring it across your mat horizontally and come down to the outside of your left shoulder, the left side of your head. Press the right hand down against the floor to help you in rotating your chest to the right. And as you're breathing in and breathing out, listen for the experience in the back body, the side waist, wherever you sense your body is asking for attention. And when you meet one of those places that's asking for attention, picture it as residue that could cause static, that could prevent the teachings from coming in. And just ask for that to gently be cleared out. And then exhale, press into your right hand, return to table pose. Bring your right arm under. And as you change sides here, again, listen in to where the sensations are in your body. And if you consider the sensations to be like a little bit, maybe a reflection of static, in that case, you can feel the experience and say, oh, may I resolve this static? May there be a kind of release of that so the transmission of the teachings is going to get through more clearly. Do 2 more breath cycles there. Back up to table pose. Now step your right foot back to plank pose and take the left arm and reach under. So now you're going to be in a different place on the back of your head. So as you reach under, come towards the back and the side of your head. You can walk the right hand around where it feels most stable to you and start lowering your right knee down to your right arm. And your knee might actually stabilize your arm on the floor. And again, wherever there's a sense of static or residue, you can gently ask for it to be resolved. Slide the right leg back towards plank pose. Place your right hand where you need it to press back up to where you started. And then touch the right knee down. Take the left leg back and bring your right arm down and under. Walk your left hand around your head and bring the left knee down. So in your twist, the head is in flexion, and you might be on the side or the back of the head a bit. Slide the left leg back, press into your left hand and return to table pose. Now reach back to pranam, please. Bring your hips back towards your heels, bow your head and your elbows. And just sense when you bow, this is called pranam, which is a gesture of humility and grace. So you could sense like, okay, if I'm able to resolve this static, will I receive the teachings that I need? And can I better understand what it means not to take that which hasn't been given to me? But also to live in the society that you live in with a reasonable amount of self-care. Okay, then come forward to table pose, curl your toes under, reach up to downward facing dog pose. Let's make the feet as wide as the yoga mat, the standard yoga mat, and keeping both hands straight and stable. Pivot your heels to your right and lengthen your left side waist. Let's keep both elbows straight and strong. Notice perhaps your left outer hamstring or the hamstring itself, maybe the outside of your calf muscle or the outer hip. And then pivot over, heels to your left. Lengthen the right side waist. Keep both elbows straight and strong. And then rotate again back to center with the feet still wide. And walk your hands one hand at a time backwards until you are in a wide-footed Uttanasana. Relax. Roll the shoulders open. I prefer to actually bend my knees a little bit on this one, so you could try that with the knees bent. Somehow there's more range of motion for the shoulders or greater ease there. And so squeeze your shoulders back away from your collarbones, the shoulder blades in towards the spine. And when you feel like you've found your place, knees bent or not, when you've kind of got that sense of the upper back and the heart, then you can practice bending your knees a lot like you're about to sit down on a little bench. And can you take the arms up towards the ceiling? And then inhale, slowly straighten the legs, and your arms are going to maybe be more parallel to the floor. It's based on your flexibility, of course. And then bend the knees, and maybe the arms are going to point up towards the ceiling. By the way, it's always fine to hold a yoga strap instead of interlacing your fingers. One more time, work the legs towards straight and see if the arms might become more parallel to the floor. And then bring your heart forward, energize your legs, hips and hamstrings, and rise up to standing. And relax the arms. Come into mountain pose. Take a wide stance. So we're going to stay working in this region of the upper back, chest, and shoulders. So come down to Prasarita Padottanasana. Please reach for your blocks, which I'm doing. We were practicing a variation on this pose, I think it was on Sunday. So if you put the two blocks like the equal sign, I guess that's right. Put them in this way, and then you're a little bit higher in your pose because some of you, of course, we would reach the floor quite comfortably. But take the left hand, the back of your left hand, outside the block on the right, and start leaning back to your left. Let's keep the right arm straight. So it's going to be a stable support, and the back of your left wrist kind of fixed right there. To have a little bit more opening, you can bend your left knee and take the hips to the left. So you may sense like you're stretching or untying the back waist, the side, the torso, left rib cage, left shoulder blade. And now I'd like you to inhale and straighten the left leg slowly. Exhale, bring your head to center. And inhale, twist open to your left. Let's check and see what your wingtip feels like. And then let's place the left hand back on its block and take the back of your right hand to the outside of the block. Lean to your right. And then you might choose to bend your right knee, and that has the opportunity to bring you a little further to the right with the torso while the back of your hand is fixed on the block. So notice the right hemisphere of your side waist, your rib cage, And any place you sense that there's a residue, if you picture it producing static between you and the teachings, can you resolve that residue with intention and breath and attention? And then inhale and straighten your right leg. Firm up your left arm and gaze straight down so your head comes to center. Then inhale, twist to your right, and you can follow your gaze to the right too. Notice what your wingtip feels like. And then come back down. And as you release, put the two blocks as wide as your feet and bow over the legs. Okay, raise your torso up, place the fingertips between where the blocks are, just directly underneath the shoulders. And I'm going to ask you to step your right hand forward and then take the left arm under and across to the block. Just like when we were doing thread the needle before, but now you have the back of your hand on the block. And see if you can twist under your right arm. Some of you might be noticing your left upper inner thigh or the left hamstring, maybe the right outer hamstring. And press the back of your left wrist down against the block to cause a twist of the heart to the right. And then let's come back to center. Walk the left hand forward near the right and bring the back of your right hand across the block. Press firmly down with the back of your hand there, the back of your wrist, and twist under your left arm. Do your best to keep the legs stable. One of the other ways that I translate Asteya is when we have a limitation in one part of the body, we don't steal from another part of the body to overcome that limitation in some false sense. So we acknowledge if the right upper inner thigh is tight, we don't ask that to be compensated for somewhere else. Or if our twist to the left is less flexible, we don't ask for it to be made up for by the left outer hip. Okay, rotate back to center, walk your right fingertips out. And then let's walk the hands back, and I'd like you to rise up for the jazz dance warm-up pose. So a wide stance, and then turn your knees out, turn the toes out, and come on down. You can gaze forward. I was just looking up at you. You can gaze forward. Breathe in, breathe out. May the static be released. And then please rise up with two straight legs and make them parallel. Turn your left heel out, turn the right heel directly to the right. Inhale, sweep your arms wide. And let's come to warrior two. And in warrior two, I'm going to ask you to check again any place in the body where there's a strong sensation or even a habitual sensation. If that represents static, can you bring your attention to it, not to coerce a change, but to invite the static to be resolved? And try closing your eyes And in this position, we have a couple places that might get highlighted. One is the left upper inner thigh. Another is the upper inner right thigh. But there's also the feeling people have of like holding up their arms. Are your arms getting tired? Which would indicate that there's a residue that makes it feel hard to hold the arms up, like we're carrying something. Maybe the lymph system, could be myofascial, could be the nerve system. So taking note of that, let's inhale, come back to center. Turn your right foot in, turn the left foot out. Inhale the arms wide. And exhale, come down, warrior two. Set the pose. You may choose to close your eyes if that deepens your concentration or gives you a chance to explore how you balance. Just check and see where you get the sort of high points of some residue might be there that's asking for resolution, some kind of static. Could be the right upper inner thigh, might be the left upper inner thigh. But also check and see what it feels like to hold up the weight of your arms. And some of that could feel like extra weight from the lymph system or myofascial or nerves. Let's inhale, rise up to center. Turn your left toes in and go heel toe to center. We're going to practice a little bit of nerve gliding right now. And I see that the camera is set so that I'm too tall for the window frame of the camera, but you're going to be feeling your own experience. You don't have to look at me. Take the right hand out like this, please. So push out to the heel of your hand. Pull your fingers back towards your head. And then tip your left ear down. Now this nerve pathway from the neck along the underside of the forearm to the hand is at its longest. So inhale. Exhale, come up, straighten the fingers. Inhale. Exhale. Again, inhale. Exhale. One more time, please. Now, when you lower the arm down, just check and see what your right arm feels like relative to your left arm. And then take the left arm up. Reach out through the heel of your hand, tip your right ear down. Exhale up to center. We'll do it about 5 times. You're asking for these nerve pathways to also have less static, and static might be a synonym for the word stress. Each place where there's sensation, can you touch that kindly with your attention and your intention? Just one more time. Up to center. Release your left arm. Take a stance like horse stance. Reach the arms forward and bring your right elbow over your left. Weave the arms into the upper part of eagle pose, like this. And then bend your knees, bring the torso down, and keeping the arms in eagle pose, you are compressing the shoulder joints, the elbows, the wrists. When we bow forward like this, you'll have also temporarily closed the hip joints to some extent. Keeping the arms in eagle pose, please inhale, rise up to standing. Make a little bit of a back bend, raise the elbows up. And then exhale, release your hands, release your arms, and let them hang free. So you're getting one of those lymph processes right now, which might make your arms easier to hold up when we go back to warrior two. Let's put the left arm over the right. With the elbows bent, and they're kind of snug in towards the heart. Bend your knees and come down. The upper back broadens so the shoulder blades, they can glide over the ribs. And any place where there's a static or a residue that wants your attention, you can gently breathe in there. Now, keeping the arms in eagle pose, press into your heels. Inhale, rise up to standing. And make a little back bend in the heart. And then exhale and release. And notice again what's resolving. Please step to the front of your yoga mat. Your warrior two is coming back, but please step to the front of your mat. We're going to put it into the sun salutation. So placing your two blocks at the ready, please join your hands at your heart. Come into the Ujjayi breath and dial your focus in to the sound of the breath in the back hollow of the throat. Like we were doing yesterday, the upper back part of the throat. Inhale, Urdhva Hastasana. Chair pose. Left arm down, inhale, twist right. Exhale, chair pose. Right arm down, inhale, twist left. Chair pose. Inhale, rise. Descend. Lengthen forward. Left toes back. Inhale, crescent. Slowly glide your left inner heel to the floor, warrior one. Inhale, arms wide. And exhale, wrap your left elbow over your right. Eagle pose. So your view is temporarily blocked by your arms, and you're welcome to practice closing your eyes if you'd like to. Keep the legs really stable. Reach from your upper inner left thigh to the left inner heel. And keeping the back waist broad, raise the chest and heart very slightly. The elbows can go up. And then inhale, unwind your arms. Imagine them like wings and raise your wingtips to the sky. Then exhale, open to warrior two. Orient your back foot to support the transition. Your right hand skyward. Inhale, rise up to rising warrior, as if the right arm again were a wingtip to the sky. And then exhale and windmill your arms over to touch the two blocks. Step backwards, please, to plank pose. Breathe in. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, plank. Seal pose. Inhale, lift up, look up. Plank. Inhale, downward dog. And exhale, left foot forward. We can keep the right heel lifted for the moment. And inhale, rise up to your crescent. And then slide the right upper inner thigh, inner calf, inner heel to warrior one, Virabhadrasana one. Inhale the arms wide. Wrap your right elbow over your left. And you may choose again to close your eyes. Keep the legs stable to the best of your ability. And the back waist broad. And lift your elbows. Raise your heart slightly. And with an inhale, unwind your arms like wings. Raise your wingtips to the sky. And exhale, open to warrior two. Orient your back foot to support your hips in warrior two. Turn the left hand skyward. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, windmill the arms over. And inhale to plank pose. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, plank. Exhale, seal. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, plank. Downward facing dog. And exhale, step forward. Uttanasana. Reach back to clasp the hands one more time and roll them open. It's okay to bend the knees if you felt that was helpful before. You can orient that you're sitting down in chair pose and the arms are going up towards the ceiling. You may choose to slowly straighten the legs and see to what extent you can maintain the shoulders and the arms and the clasp of the hands. And then inhale, roll your shoulders back, rise up to mountain pose. And exhale, release the clasp of the arms, let them dangle until they find their place. And as you stand in mountain pose, try to sense if there's any kind of lightening of the static or the residue. Something that you would sense for yourself from the inside. I'd like you to bring your chair onto your yoga mat. The first thing we're going to do with the chair is an opening for the upper back. And I'm very fond of this experience, but I can't say that everyone else is. So what you can do is set up your chair on one end of your mat. Put your blocks down as a little bench to sit on. Please pad the chair with something, not your cat or dog, but like a blanket, a sweatshirt. sofa cushion if that's all you have. And when you're sitting on the blocks here, the height between your hips and the base of the seat of the chair is going to be, it's based on your structure, but we want the shoulder blades, the bottom of the shoulder blades to be at the edge of the chair, right there. Okay, and then you're going to pick up the hip so that you could lie down on the chair, something like this. You walk the feet out so your hips and thighs are parallel to the floor more or less, based on your height, right? I have these pockets. I tuck my pockets in, I don't know why. Now, some of us, the way the head, you might be touching the back of your chair already based on the kind of chair that you have. But if possible, reach your hands in to hold the seat of the chair from inside, not reaching on the outside like this, but reaching on the inside. Hug the elbows towards the center a bit so they don't splay apart. This is a really good practice for not stealing. So if the upper back is stiff, as you lower the hips down, respect your upper back in its capacity. So examples of one body part stealing from another would be the elbows splay apart, the chin pokes up towards the ceiling, the lower back tries to bend more than it's supposed to, so the upper back doesn't have to. You begin to slinky off your chair, so the shoulder blades didn't stay put. And all those are examples of losing integrity in the upper back in the pose. So those are also called escape hatches, where we tend to have a little escape hatch in a physical pose. It is not necessary for your hips to make it all the way back down to the 2 blocks. We're just tuning in and listening. Raise your hips up to the height of your knees. Let's take the arms up towards the ceiling. And then open the arms wide. I know the chair has a certain width, so you don't get to have your full freedom here, but can you open the chest and heart and take the fingers and peel them back down towards the floor? So just like nerve gliding before, can you bend the wrists and just check and see, is there any greater ease in your wrists or your fingers there? And then we are going to come down off of the chair. Sometimes people will hold the upper back of the chair like this and lower, and sometimes they just put their hands down to where the blocks are and come up to sitting. And if you'll sit up for a moment and like smile at your efforts in your upper back, like, hello. Fortunate you are to be here this morning to open the upper back, chest and heart. May the teachings find their way in more obviously. Now let's take the 2 blocks, please. Fold 2 blankets and fold them. You can't fold your block. Well, I mean, likely you can't fold your block. Maybe you have a folding block, I don't know. And take like this. So 2 blankets there. This is going to be for supported shoulder stand. Okay, we're going to straddle the chair like a bar stool. One thing is that after the pose, you're going to be sliding backwards into Shavasana. So I'm going to move myself where I'll have more room for that, as if I'm that tall, right? So straddle your chair. Take your knees over the upper back of the chair. Please be careful, and we don't all have the same chair. So I'm demonstrating on this chair. I really like having the chair just be what it is because I can slide on it. But on the other hand, for some of you, this chair, the metal seal is harder for you than it is for others. When you first come down, tuck the shoulders well under and hold the legs of the chair with your elbows bent. And then you can determine if this is too firm, might you put some padding between your sacrum and the chair. Where I am on the chair, my sacrum feels comfortable. And that's not just because I used to do Iyengar yoga. It's because
where I ended up on the chair actually feels really supportive. The chair is at the top of my sacrum and not yet touching the lumbar spine. It's at the juncture between those two. You bring your gaze towards your heart. You also can close the eyes. Ultimately, I'd like this pose to feel restful and easeful to you. So for some of you to bring the shoulders down to the floor and to make the chair the right height for the length of your spine, it might be helpful to have 3 blankets under the shoulders, or 2.5 blankets, or something you could play with to explore. Now, for anyone for whom you have absolute stability and tranquility, you can start to glide the legs over to plow pose. That is not for everyone. Do not choose plow pose if it steals your tranquility or stability to try to get there. One measure of whether or not you're someone who should go over to plow pose would be like that absolute sense of groundedness or tranquility or stability, as well that you can easily touch the floor and you gracefully return to your supported shoulder stand, also called the candlestick pose. And let your knees touch the top of the chair with your feet so you can orient. Touch the seat of the chair. Place your hands on the floor where you're going to need them. Come down off of your chair. Watch out for the choking t-shirt syndrome. Place your hips on the blankets. And then tip the chair to support your legs. And close the eyes. You just had the throat inflection, kind of like a Jalandhara Bandha position. You can make it neutral now. You don't have to keep the chin pulled down towards the throat. Maybe you could also ask for any mental static or mental residue to be lifted so that the transmission of the teachings, even if they seem like they would be really hard to apply, perhaps something comes to you when the static is more cleared. Now you're resting deeply. Stay present. moment to moment, this inner sense of presence. You might even catch a glimpse of the static being released or the residue being lifted. You can allow yourself to stay present, even though you are deeply relaxing. You're not daydreaming or spacing out or going to sleep. The depth of your resting to go a few degrees more deep while the mind stays present. This is your witness mind or your observing mind. Invite the possibility of deep stillness, and that whatever teachings need to be received or transmitted within you, they're realized in that stillness.
Keeping the mind present. Gently wiggle your fingers and your toes. Find your way back to your seat. You could bring your knees to your chest and roll down from the blankets to go down to one side. It's okay to rest there until you feel acclimated, and then come up to your seat. With the pranayama that we've been doing and the practice that we just had, I'd like to focus on when we use Uddiyana Bandha and suspension of the breath, and we have the shoulders rolled into this kind of position here, a little bit like your shoulder stand, like this. We're going to use it for the inhale suspension. So we'll inhale, lift the chest, we'll be coming into this suspension. And then we're going to exhale and release the breath really slowly. And for that slow release, one option is to make the lips into a tiny straw. So let's try it together. Roll the shoulders back. The hands can slide in towards your hips. Then inhale through the nose, filling the lower, middle, and upper. And then suspending, snug the low belly in and up. Release the bandhas and exhale like a little straw. And deeply relax. Now repeat that. And exhaling like a tiny straw. And deeply relax. Bring your right hand up for one round of Nadi Shodhana. Rest in the silence together. Actually have less static in your experience, so the teachings. How might you live today in such a way as you're not taking that which hasn't been given to you? Apologies if the camera battery just turned itself off again. It happened also yesterday. But we do have the eyes closed. I can hear the sound when it turns off, so. Keeping your gaze inward then, you can join your hands to your heart. And appreciate yourself for being here for the practice. I look forward to your reflections on how you can apply a teaching, such as not taking that which hasn't been given to you, not taking that which isn't yours. How will you apply that in yourself? How will that get translated, given that we live in a commerce culture? Thank you all for being here. Namaste. I'm sorry that you can't see me. I will close our Facebook Live so we can be together. I'll stop the recording for the same.